they need to understand that they're not going to lose. So take your time and implement it in the right way rather than doing it quickly.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Throw Down Thursday edition, in segment 1, the college football playoffs, back to the drawing board. In segment 2, we're going to talk about the Olympic sports discussion that needs to be magnified across the country. And in segment 3, we're going to talk about inconsistent administration as we try to catch up and do this college sports financing thing. But let's get to the college football playoffs. Back to the drawing board for the college football playoffs. After all of these closed-door meetings, they still don't have anything to show for this upcoming season. The developments over the last couple of weeks kind of placed the Big Ten on an island. The SEC doesn't want to do an 8th game, nor do they have to if you're not paying them. Notre Dame is just happy to be there. So you've got 2 formulas. You got the 5+11 model, and you also have the automatic qualifier model. With us today is Captain for Life, Will Cotton. Will, I've sent a bunch of stuff to you to look at. If you're advising the college football playoff committee, ADs, what are you telling them?
I think they just need to chill. I think they have a great product. I think people are really tuning in. I think they got the thing that people really asked for in terms of the playoff. They get the same to argue about who belongs to be in the playoff, who doesn't belong to be in the playoff. So they still get to be important and things like that. They need to just take some time and put some really effort into what they want to do. You know, at the end of the day, people are not going to stop watching college football. That's not going anywhere at any point. At some point, and every year you're going to arguing about something. So just take your time. There's no rush in putting in a plan or putting in some sort of solution for you if people are going to watch. I think, like I would say, the last 2 years in terms of viewership have gone up the last 2 games. So you guys are doing a bare minimum and you're winning. Let it ride for a couple years, figure out what you want to do, move forward, and then you'll make a great solution. Again, you're not losing any money, so you might as well just take some time and make the decision that you're going to take and then move forward with that.
All right. So the Big Ten officials won a 16-team format with 4 automatic qualifiers for the Big Ten and the SEC. The big piece of this is that a new format cannot be adopted if the Big Ten and the SEC support separate formulas. And the deadline for a decision is December 1st. And so far, a temporary 1-year format for 2026 is not on the table. Joining us now is our favorite administrator, Robert Abney. Robert, there is no formal structure for the college football playoff, and we're less than 100 days out from the start of the season. The Big Ten and the SEC seem to be on opposite sides, especially because the SEC is not rushing to pick up a 9th game, which, if you're not paying me, I'm not playing 9. Mm-hmm. Any advice for the college football playoff, folks?
Yeah, you're going to have 4 SEC. You're probably going to have 4 Big 10 teams anyway. You have plenty of time. It's not like they're not throwing all this stuff together. They have a general idea of the bowls they're going to use. They have home sites available. I understand they want to plan it. They want to be able to publicize it, put it on their website and everything, but it's not, if they don't find out until October, they're fine. They're fine. I promise they will figure it out and we will still have a playoff. Even if it's December, perish the thought, we will still have a playoff, I promise. It'll be okay. It will be okay.
All right. Will, which model are you leaning to? 5+11 or the automatic qualifier model with the 4-4-2-1, whatever?
Stick with what you got going. Again, like Robert said, you're not losing. You have viewership, number one. You have money in your hand. You got the NFL who's still low key backing you, saying, "No, we really appreciate what y'all going out with the showcase." It's really what it is. If you talk about it, and they don't have to rush. They don't have to rush. And at the end of the day, even if they make the wrong decision, doesn't matter. It just makes more content for us. It makes more things to talk about, more news to talk about, how they got it wrong. It builds for everybody. So really, whether they get it right or wrong, it builds up the sports entertainment market and everyone loves it. If they get it right, guess what? We're all talking about it. They still win either way. They need to understand that they're not going to lose. So take your time and implement it in the right way rather than doing it quickly. And that's all I really have. Yeah.
All right, Robert, which one do you favor? AQs or 5+11? Because Notre Dame's happy either way.
5+11.
5+11.
The SEC and Big Ten, they don't need automatic qualifiers. They don't need them. Get the 5 in who have to be in. Pick the next 11. It doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. So speaking of things that doesn't matter to the money people, we're going to talk about the Olympic sports and see if we can convince them that they do matter. We'll be right back on the Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. Dr. Keith Adams here. And for over 30 years, I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes succeed, not just on the fields and the courts, but in the classroom and beyond. And that's why I founded the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project understands that finding the balance between academics and athletics is crucial for long-term success. That's why the CKA Save Project offers a range of programs, including personalized consulting, mentorship, and coming in 2027, our innovative Gap Year Basketball Academy designed to assist both young men and women reach their full potential both on and off the court. I'm incredibly excited to announce that the CK Save Project is now partnering with the Cascade Sports Network. This partnership will allow us the opportunity to amplify our message and reach even more student athletes through the Odd Coaches Podcast and other exciting initiatives. Join the CKA Save Project and the Cascade Sports Network as we empower the next generation of student athletes. Visit CKA on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org to learn more. Let's work together to find the balance and help unlock your potential. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast, and it's segment 2. We need to have a discussion about Olympic sports. So let's talk Team USA, government funding, and shout out to the Knight Commission who compiled this beautiful chart and presentation that I'm looking from. So one, it's important about non-revenue generating sports and making sure people understand the importance of it. And when we talk about non-revenue generating sports, we're mainly talking about gymnastics in terms of the Olympics, ice hockey, swimming, and track and field. Historically speaking, college sports is the training ground with no government funding, and the future is now uncertain. So here are the concerns. 37 Division I teams have been dropped since the House settlement was announced. And my friend will say, what did you think was going to happen? Okay. So that's more than 700 lost opportunities, a reduction of opportunities through roster limits across all Division I sports, and there's a future of requiring fewer minimum sports. We can see that coming. So here are the questions, and then I'm going to go to our panel. How will scholarship and investment levels impact Team USA's success? How could reductions in broad-based participation impact each sport? And remember, 84% of all Olympic medalists in Paris completed in college sports. Robert, what are we doing in terms of, should we even care about the Olympic sports? Because it's not my problem, it's the government's problem. Where do you lie on this situation?
Well, I mean, I think we should care because I think I know you and I are of a similar mindset where, any opportunities that kids have to participate, any opportunities that kids have to have athletic success, get educated, we want them to be able to take advantage of those. That being said, I mean, 37 D1 teams have been dropped. And that doesn't even count, like the other day I saw Washington State. Okay. They didn't drop their track program. What they did is they said, we're just going to focus on distance and we're not going to recruit any sprinters. We're not going to recruit any field event athletes. So technically, they still have track. But what they're doing is they're creating a year-round training opportunity for their distance runners who run cross country, indoor track, outdoor track. So they're it's almost like they're consolidating a program, really. And we're going to see it. We're going to see a lot of that. And there are some schools that already do that. A kid I know who went to Los Alamos High School when I was the athletic director there. She has won indoor and outdoor world championships in the shot put. Her name is Chase Ely Jackson, and she went to Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State doesn't have distance runners. They have sprinters, they have throwers. That's what they do for track. So I think we're going to see more of that. Same with, gymnastics and I don't know if swimming, you'll see people specialize, but I mean, it won't surprise me at all if you start having schools have conversations about, yeah, we can't afford that sport. And I think you're going to see schools start to drop sports also because I think the Division I membership requirements, I think those are going to change, and you're not going to have to see schools having all of these sports in order to be able to be members of Division I anymore.
So, Will, Texas A&M, for example, they're not really giving a lot of money from the House decision to track and field, but they're going to guarantee 45 scholarships. In addition, it is well documented that the NCAA is primarily funded off March Madness, but in terms of football championship money, they don't get any of that. As a regular fan and a parent, what are you thinking about when it comes to the Olympic sports? How do you take all of this that is coming across your desk, so to speak?
Well, I think the United States have to look at their options. I mean, again, if you're not getting money from the government, there's other options. There are different ways to get money. From what I was looking at, the United States Olympic Paralympic Committee provide $2.5 million per year in travel, training, and education for athletes for the Olympic. They need to take advantage of that. Go out there and find a sponsor or a donor. I mean, there's easily to find somebody who went to school with you who was a millionaire who says, "Hey, I'm so and so. I'm going to the Olympics, going for a gold medal. Can I get $100,000? Cool. That's another way to do it. These sports are going to have to get very creative in terms of funding because they're not getting it right now because there's no TV for them until every 4 years with the Olympics. So they need to find a different way. Find someone to bankroll it. You know what I'm saying? Go to, anybody and do it. It could be somebody from your school, it could be somebody from the committee, somebody even who is, invested in America, who is willing to give you money just because, hey, I love America. These teams are going to have to do those same things until they can bring up their popularity and people are just sending them money. I'm sure you can go reach for Nike, especially in America. You can say, hey, Nike, we're on the swim team. All we get is the gold medal. Want to throw us some money? Bet. Here you go. Hey, Adidas, Nike, we're on the track team on the Olympic team. Don't you want to throw us some money? Bet. This is the name of the game. You have to promote your sport. You have to promote yourself. It's hard for you to just sit there back and say, okay, well, I hope the government's going to hook us up. That's like somebody waiting back for food stamps. You know what I'm saying? Go and get it. Go and get your money, man. Go and get it.
It wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't surprise me if you started seeing some of these collectives try to fill the gaps on these Olympic sports, and maybe they sponsor Olympic athletes
I
who
mean,
came from their schools, right?
or even NBA players. I mean, these dudes are looking for different ways to diversify their money. So look, if you're making 200, $300 million and you're a USA Olympic basketball, hey, look, we had a conversation last 4 years ago. Don't you want to give us like 2 million, LeBron? Don't you want to give us $2 million, so and so? Yeah,
Well, Will, that's not too far fetched because if you saw in the Olympic Village, those athletes did come together and they hung out, and a
exactly.
lot of those Olympic guys went to watch gymnastics and went to watch track, and there was a lot of camaraderie with that. But you're on to something. So in segment 3, we're going to talk about how some of the colleges and universities are trying to fund some programs. We'll talk about this when we get right back on the Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Keith Adams, and for years, I've witnessed the struggle student athletes face on how to truly balance the demands of academics and athletics. It's a question that I have dedicated my life to answering. That's why I wrote Finding the Balance, my personal journey to academic and athletic success. It's more than just a book. It is my personal journey, and it is filled with hard-earned lessons from decades as a coach, educator, and now president of the CKA Safe Project. Inside, you will find practical advice, real-life stories, and a clear roadmap to help student athletes, coaches, and parents navigate the complex world of balancing sports and education. And now I am thrilled to bring this message to a wider audience as a proud member of the Cascade Sports Network. We're partnering to amplify these crucial conversations about student athlete success. I believe every student athlete deserves the opportunity to reach their full potential, both on and off the court and the field. You can purchase your copy directly from our website at www.ckasafeproject.org. Join me and the Cascade Sports Network as we work together to help every student athlete succeed. Welcome back to the Coaches Podcast in segment 3. We're going to talk a little bit about inconsistent administration, and I'm going to start off with Wichita State. So Wichita State President Richard Muma told the State Board of Regents last month that the university was seeking a 3.5% increase in tuition at the university, in part because it needs to use general university dollars to provide $3.5 million in funding for the athletic department. Approval of the request was never in doubt. They did approve the increase without raising any concerns about the athletic department component. Then you have Florida State. The Florida Board of Governors passed an amendment allowing state universities to direct $22.5 million auxiliary dollars per year to athletics. This amendment will run through the end of 2028 and will allow Florida State to fully fund the new revenue sharing cap. Also, South Carolina just increased athletic fees for their students that I believe used to be optional, and now that just raised a quick $18 million for South Carolina. Robert, you're our administrator. You have seen many a budget in your life. Any thoughts about how schools are trying to fund the new challenges of college athletics?
Well, I think you know as well as I do that if schools can find a way to pass costs on to somebody else, they're going to do that. And, one thing about, schools like, schools in the SEC, schools in the Big Ten, people want to go to school there. So if you bump it up $500 a year to help fund your athletic program, you're not really going to run anybody off because they want to go to school there. So, and here in Texas and some states like here in Texas, if you are in the top 10% of your graduating class, they have to admit you, and there's some kind of scholarship. There's some kind of scholarship for that where you pay reduced rates.
Mhm.
So, you know, colleges and universities are going to get really creative about finding a way to fund that $20.5 million. And just like anything else that the federal government decides to do, colleges and universities being a form of government, they're going to find some creative ways to take money away from the people that they're depending on to stay open to begin with.
Well, donor fatigue is real, even though you're not fatigued. You're a St. John's alum. When you hear about these types of things, what goes through your mind?
For me, I know we used to go back, especially previous like the 90s, or probably before that in the 70s and the 80s, 90s. They were doing this without zero money. So if you're gonna give me a budget now for $20, $25 million, that just gives me a leeway to give somebody else some money on the low that's not quiet. At the biggest thing I've learned about getting older is people will look the other ways for money. You know what I'm saying? There may be a certain like, hey, like this is what we have to do. I know a lot of teams are going to ignore it. I know they're going to find different ways to get through it. I know they guys have CFAs or CPAs who are looking at it and they're like, man, yeah, like I know how to get around this. We can do some of this. They're going to get a lot more creative in how they bring kids into or different schools into these schools. 22.5 million dollars is a front. That's something that we see, that we feel good and say, okay, well, everyone's playing on a level field. We're all good. Everyone's equal. But we all know that, you and me having $1,000 in our pocket and you and Elon Musk having 1,000 pocket are two different things. You know what I'm saying? There's two different things. Alabama with $22.5 million different than Wichita. You know what I'm saying? Because really, Alabama can afford to spend $40 million. They're going to do it quietly. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to have these sort of restrictions. Even though I think guys are gonna, look over them and ignore them and do what they want to do, just like they did when there was no funding in NIL in previously. You're making it easy for these guys now. They had to make it creative. Now they're gonna go in. They're gonna be like, oh, really? 22 million to play with? These guys are so smart. They'll make a way to get and these kids been doing, and these kids and these coaches. I mean, let me ask you a question this. If it's $22.5 million per player, correct? What if I give
No, it's 22.
for
Go ahead,
everybody, right?
Robert.
For everybody.
For everybody.
What if I just, hey, look, let me give somebody mama 500K. They don't go to the school. They're not part of the university. I gain 500K because, hey, I like them. I want to support their family. I want their kids to go well. I think there will always be a way that they will get over on this. The rich will always be rich. And
They're trying, and
oh
that's why
yeah,
we
oh
did
no,
the
no,
NIL goal last week.
I don't think trying. They're gonna find a different way to do it. And I think the teams that really, really go in and coach and now like, okay, when I got $22.5 million to go in, bet you'll see a lot of good teams. So I think this will post the parity gap on a lot of teams because you're gonna have a lot of teams that are trying, like Alabama. I know Alabama ain't not trying to be too creative with their money. I know Georgia's not going out talking about, well, let's figure out how we're gonna do this. You're not. You just get the best of the best and move forward, and you lose your money. Whereas you have a Wichita
Wichita
State,
State.
yeah, or a BYU, or even St. John's. St. John's doesn't even have a football team. So you're telling me I'm gonna put all $22 million into my basketball team? Bet. There'll be
Wow.
so much creative ways of how they manipulate this money. I will be so interested in how they're gonna do it. I think it's gonna be so interesting that like they're gonna do things. We're gonna be like, huh. Well, I guess they're gonna have to look at the laws about this because Alabama or so or Gonzaga or Georgetown.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the law because a lot of states are passing laws that says it doesn't matter what the NCAA or the punishment committee says, you can do whatever. So
Right.
with that, Next week, fans, we begin our OCP College Football Conference previews. We have to put down the administrative stuff and we actually get back on the field. So next week, we will talk about the American Athletic Conference as well as Conference USA. Shout out to the Blue Hens of Delaware because they were so kind to me today. Point five was there at a prospect camp. So on behalf of our Cavalcade of Stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, also seen on the Cascade Sports Network. And we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.